And in these first couple of sections, we talk about something called dimensional analysis, which is sometimes called a unit fraction. And in dimensional analysis, we convert a measurement to a different unit. And this thing says by multiplying the unit fraction or the unit fractions until the desired measurement is given. And we'll see how this all works. We can use a unit fraction, and a unit fraction is basically a special form of 1. So if you take a look at the measurements of length in the English units, 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, right? 3 feet is a yard, 36 inches is a yard, and then 5,280 feet is a mile. We can develop what's called a unit fraction, and a unit fraction is nothing more than a specialized form of 1. So we take a look at some examples. 12 inches divided by 1 foot, right? Even though we have two different measurements, 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So that's a specialized form of 1. The second one, 1 foot over 12 inches, 3 feet over a yard, so on and so forth. Each one of these unit fractions is a special form of 1. So anytime you multiply something by 1, you don't change its value, but you can change the way it's expressed. So now here's how we actually use the unit fractions to convert units. All right, so I believe this is similar to your number 4. And this is from 1.1, so I'm going to write 1.1 number 4. All right, so yours is going to be similar to this, not exactly the same, but similar. So here we're asked to convert 2.5 yards to inches. Okay. So I'm going to start with my 2.5 yards. And I want to multiply that by some unit fraction. Since I want my unit of yard to cancel, I'm going to put my unit of yard in the denominator. And since I want to convert yard to inches, I'm going to put the desired measurement in the numerator. Okay. So now I'm just going to use my formula for my unit fraction. So if I look at my conversions, 3 okay, well, I don't quite have yards to inches. Now I'm kind of looking at this. So I'm going to write this conversion in. 1 yard is equal to 36 inches. So now this is how I came about that. If 1 yard is 3 feet, and if 1 foot is 12 inches, therefore 3 feet would be 36 inches. I mean, I guess I can actually use a unit fraction for this one, just to show how that works. Since that's not a common one, so let's convert 1 yard to inches. So I'm going to use 2 conversions, and we're going to see this in a little bit later examples, where I can change yard to feet. All right, so when I multiply, my yards are going to cancel, and then I can change feet to inches. So if I look at my conversion, 1 yard is 3 feet. And for my second unit fraction, 1 foot is 12 inches. So now when I multiply, keep in mind you can put anything over 1. So I can actually put 1 yard over 1. That's still the same as a yard. But when I multiply, I can cancel my measurements, right? I can cross cancel. So the yards are going to cancel. The feet are going to cancel. And I'm left with inches. Now I'm going to just multiply all this stuff across. So 1 times 3 times 12 is 36. I'm going to keep my unit inches. And in the denominator, I have ones, and my foot and my yard have canceled. So 1 yard is equal to 36 inches. All right, so I had to use a couple of conversions. So now if we're taking a look at this problem, since we've converted yard to inches, I can write in my unit fraction. 1 yard is 36 inches. So when I multiply, my yards are going to cancel. And 2.5 times 36. So I'll multiply that I believe it should be 90. 2.5 times 36 is 90 inches. All right, so sometimes you may find an outright conversion. Other times you may have to formulate one. Now, as far as some questions are concerned, this is problem number 12 from 1.2. From 1.1, number 12. Right. So this says the maximum speed limit on a highway in California is 65 miles per hour. We're asked to convert 65 miles per hour to feet per second. All right. So I'm going to write out 65 miles per hour. So that's 65 miles. And I'm going to put hours in the denominator, all right, because 65 miles per 1 hour. I want to convert miles to feet, and I also want to convert hour to seconds. So I'm going to do 2 conversions. All right. So I'm going to use 2 unit fractions. So for this first unit fraction, I'm going to convert miles to feet. So I'm going to put miles in the denominator, right? Because when I cross multiply, the miles are going to cancel. I'm going to put feet in the numerator, and that's going to convert miles to feet, right? And next I want to convert hour to seconds. Now, as far as time is concerned, 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. All right. So here are some conversions from time for time. All right. So for my last unit fraction, I want to convert hours to seconds. So I'm going to put hour in the numerator, right, because once we go back and multiply, the hour is going to cancel. And I'm going to put seconds in the denominator. So now I'm just going to write out the conversions. So 1 mile is 5,280 feet, right? All right, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. So now when we multiply, we see that the miles unit will cancel. We see that the hour unit will cancel. And I'm left with feet in the numerator and second in the denominator. So now I'm just going to multiply all the numbers in the numerator. So I'm going to multiply 65. Let me just write it out. 65 times 5,280. And I'm left with feet in the numerator. And then in the denominator, I have 3,600 seconds. So if I simplify the numerator, 65 times 5,280. And I'm just going to divide that by 3,600. And you should get 95.3 feet per second. All right, so we converted miles per hour to feet per second using a couple of unit fractions. All right, that was number 12. Also, number 13 was similar. All right, so this is number 13 from section 1.1. It's a track and field application. A person who runs a 100-yard dash in 10.9 seconds has an average speed of 9.17 yards per second. So now they're giving you a lot of numbers here, but if you were to actually take the 100, divide 10 and divide that by 100, that would give you the 9.17 yards per second. Right? We're asked to convert 9.17 yards per second to miles per hour. So here again, we're converting yards to miles and seconds to hour. So that's 9.17 yards a second. Okay, so I'm putting yards in the numerator and seconds in the denominator. For this first unit fraction, I'm going to convert yards to miles. So I'm going to put yards in the denominator. Right, because once we go back and multiply, we can cross-cancel yards, right, and we can get the conversion from yards to miles. For the second unit fraction, I'm going to convert seconds to hours. So since second is in my denominator, in my unit fraction, I'm going to put second in the numerator, right, so we can cross-cancel. And hour in the denominator. And if I look back at my conversions, I don't actually see a conversion from yards to miles, right? I see one from feet to miles, but I don't actually see one from yards to miles. So I'm actually going to develop over here. Convert uh, 1 mile to yards. So I'm going to start with 1 mile. So I'm going to make 2 unit fractions because for our basic conversions, we have, I can convert miles to feet and then feet to yard, right? So I'm going to convert miles to feet. So for my first unit fraction, I'm going to put miles in the denominator yards in the numerator. And for my second unit fraction, I'm going to put yard Let me just make sure I'm converting the right thing over. I'm sorry. That's miles to feet. And then feet to yard. Okay. All right. So if I look back at my conversions, 1 mile is 5,280 feet. And for my last unit fraction, 1 yard is 3 feet. Bless you. So if I multiply, I can cross cancel miles, I can cross cancel feet, and I'm left with yard. So I'm going to multiply my numerator. So 1 times 5,280 times 1 is just 5,280. I'm going to divide it by 3. And if I divide that up, I have 5,280 divided by 3, which is 1,760. So 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So now, since we've already developed these, you can actually use this as a conversion fact, right? So you never have to really convert that again if you need it. 1 mile is 1,760 feet. And the other one we derived was I believe it was yards to inches. Okay. All right, so we can use those as facts. All right, any questions? Well, I guess so now we can actually finish the problem. All right. So remember, we're converting 9.17 yards to seconds. So we're going to put in that conversion. We just figured out 1 mile is 1,760 yards. I can write in the conversion from hours to second. 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. Once we multiply, we see that yards will cancel, seconds will cancel, and we're left with the units mile per hour. So now I'm just going to multiply the numbers in the top. So 9.17 times 3,600 gives us like 33,012. I'm going to divide that by 1,760. And we have 18.8 miles per hour. All right, any questions about number 12 or 13? We had to use a couple of conversions. All right, also in the first module, we have what are called metric system conversions and metric system measurements. And it says it's used in most industrialized countries, and it's based on powers of 10. And actually, using a metric system is a little bit more precise than using inches and feet. And the reason why is because, let's say you have a ½ inch, right, which is 8 over 16 if you're going on 16. If you go up 1 tick from a ½ inch, which is like 5 over 16, whereas with the metric system, you're going by increments of 1. It's either 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter. So the metric system is a more precise system of measurement. I don't know why we don't adopt. Just like if you work on cars, most American cars, they deal with ½ inch, 5/8, this sort of thing. But if you're dealing on a import, they deal with 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter. So it's like a whole nother set of tools. All right, so we have here the prefixes. Kilo means 1,000. Its symbol is K. Hecto, its symbol is H, is 100. Deca, which is DA, it has a base unit of 10. Then you actually have what's called your base unit. And in the metric system, here are the base units. For length, it's the meter. For area, well, for capacity, it is liter. Like the capacity is how much water something can hold. So like for a liter soda, a 2-liter soda, right? Those are capacity type units. And the last one is weight, and weight is gram. So what I mean by that is you can have a kilometer, which would be 1,000 meters. You can have a kiloliter, which is 1,000 liters. So if you just think a liter soda is 1 liter, if you put 1,000 of them together, that's a kiloliter. And you can also have a kilogram. All right. So just as a reference, 1 gram is about the weight of a dollar bill or a paper clip. That should be about the weight of 1 gram. For capacity liter, if you think about a liter soda, that 1 liter soda, and then for length, from the bottom of the doorknob to the floor, that should be a meter. And I believe, that should be a meter. And I believe that the thickness of a dime is a meter. All right. Just for, no. The thickness of a dime is a millimeter. All right. Just for like a point of reference. All right. Then we have deci, which is the decimal part. That's 1/10 or 0.1. We have centi, which is 1/100th. And we have milli, which is 1/1000th. So now you may have heard this saying, King Henry died by drinking chocolate. Anybody ever heard that? Okay, so let me just explain it. So there's like a little saying, and it's mighty. I'm gonna add to this. Mighty King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And then it's like a wild munching nuts on this. I won't go that far. So mighty King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. M is for mega. K is for kilo. H is for hecto. D is for deca. B is for base unit. And what I mean by base unit is either a meter, a gram, or a liter. Drinking is deci. Chocolate is centi. And milk is milli. Or M-I-L-L-I. But I just threw this M in for mega. That's the 10,000s. That'll just go up order of magnitude. All right, so now here's how this chart works. And let's take a look at an example. So that's basically the same thing I got here, just a little bit more detail. It says make the following conversions in the metric system. Convert 32 meters to centimeters, and then convert 32 meters to millimeters. So I'm going to take this first one, 32 meters to centimeters. So first I'm going to find out what 32 meters lies. So 32 meters, since it's in meters, the base unit, I'm going to put my number here, 32. And however I move in the chart, that's how many zeros I place. So what I mean by that is if we're going to convert 32 meters to centimeters, I would have to move from my base unit. I would have to move one place to the right for deci. I have to move another place to the right for centi. Since I moved 2 places to the right, I must add 2 zeros to my number. So 32 meters is equal to 3,200 centimeters. However many places you move in the chart, you have to add that many zeros. So let's convert 32 meters to millimeters. All right. So since I'm using the same 32 meters, I'm going to locate that in the very center. If I'm moving from meters to millimeters, I have to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So I'm going to add 3 zeros. So 32 meters is 32,000 millimeters. So let's look at, I guess, another example. 14 centimeters is equal to how many hectometers? So remember, for hecto, that symbol was H. So H and then my base unit of M. So in order to figure this out, I would first locate 14 centimeters. Right. And now this time I got to move my decimal to the left. So I have to move it once, and now I'm at deci. Twice, now I'm at the base unit. A third time, I'm at deca. A fourth time, now I'm at hecto. So I must put 4 zeros in front of the 14. So I have 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 14. Okay, now this is how you actually read a number like this. All right, so whenever you're dealing with decimals, if you do not have a whole number, always place 0 in as your whole number. I taught this, well, it wasn't this class, it was the medical, what do we used to teach? Medical terminology or something. The math teacher teach it. They said we were teaching it too hard, so they let nursing people teach it. But anyway, in that class, I had wrote down a number, and I didn't put a whole number. And then one of the students, they raised their hand and said, well, Mr. Cummins, you shouldn't leave the 0 off. And I said, well, why do you say the 0? Because you see a lot of people just kind of like, she said, well, I would get written up for that, because if I were to write down how many milliliters of a drug I was giving a person, and let's say the person behind me came and said, well, maybe they put a you know, that decimal's not supposed to be there, and they give a person the wrong dose of medication. She says, and I'm sticking to this day, always use a 0 whenever your decimal, that whole number is 0. Okay? Just beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know that this number is something below 0. So now this is how you would actually read this. So first off, I would have to find the decimal place for my last number. So if I start at my decimal, I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, millionths, and then 10 millionths. You would actually read this number as 14 10 millionths of a hectometer. Right, so you always figure out the last decimal place, the last value of the last number in your decimal. Okay, you read it out and then you just attach that. So this will be 14 10 millionths. All right, if you had to read something like this. All right, so any questions about using this chart? It's just a matter of adding filler zeros maybe to the left or to the right, all depending upon which way you're moving in this chart. All right, so also on the slides, I have this, which is pretty much the same thing: kilometer, hectometer, decameter. Then I have the base unit, then deci, centi, and millimeter. Okay, we took a look at that one. Now we're going to take a look at, this is actually going into 1.2. We're going to take a look at area conversions. So just to review area somewhat, area, and this is going to be of a rectangle. Whenever you're finding the area, you are finding the amount of surface an object has. For the perimeter is going to be the distance around. So like if you were to go into Home Depot or whatever and you want to buy some fence, you would give the measurement for fence, the amount of yards for the fence you're going to need in that unit alone. So let's just say I got a garden that's 10 foot going this way, 10 foot that way, 10 foot that way, 10 foot that way. So when I go into Lowe's, I just say I want 40 feet of fence. That measures the outside perimeter. And the measurement of outside perimeter is in the unit alone. So what I mean by that is just feet. When you deal with area, that's the amount of surface something has. For example, if I wanted to get carpet for this classroom, I would just multiply, I would find the measurement for the length, I would find the measurement for the width, I would multiply those two together. The area is measured in square units. So like square feet. So sometimes you may see square feet written like this, right, with SQ for short for square and FT short for feet. You may also see square feet written like this. So you may see that they may write square meters as SQM for square meters, or they may write it out as M squared. Those are measurements for area. So if I were to get carpet, let's say this is 10 feet, this is 10 feet, about the same as my little garden or whatever. But when I go get carpet, I want to say I want 100 square feet of carpet, not 40 feet. Right? So area measures the amount of surface something has. Perimeter measures the distance around an object. And when we get into the next section, we talk about capacity and weight. Okay, we'll kind of get to that once we get into the next section. All Right, so this is area. So now here's where these conversions come in. And we can see some of them here. It says that 1 square foot. So notice they write out square feet with feet squared. That's equal to 144 square inches. So over here they wrote out square inches, and then they also gave it to you with the square exponent. 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. 1 acre is equal to, so now when you talk about acres, acres are, you don't really talk about those things in square units. So acres are understood to be an area measurement. So when you see the word acre, you're not going to see square acres, but they're talking about area. So 1 acre is 43,560 square feet, or 44,840 square yards. And then the last conversion says that 1 square mile is 640 acres. So it's like when you buy land, you know, your land may be on 1 acre of land, 2 acres of land. They're actually giving you an area measurement, not a perimeter type measurement. Even though you don't see the square on it. So now I'll just take the first two, just see how these things are derived. So let's just say that we have a square, right? And in the square, all 4 sides have the same length. And let's say this is 1 foot, and this is 1 foot. So if I wanted to find the area for this square, I would just simply multiply 1 foot times 1 foot, and I'm going to get 1 square foot. Right, I just multiply the length times the width. Now, if I go back and look at my linear conversions, 1 foot is 12 inches. All right, so I'm just converting 1 foot to 12 inch. So now if I'm looking at how many square inches, I'm going to have what? 12 times 12, which is 144. So I have 144 square inches. And notice that is the first conversion. 1 square foot is equal to 144 square inches. And so this is where it actually comes from. If we take a look at the second one, 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. So I'm going to use this same diagram. I'm just going to change up my dimensions. So let's just say I have a yard for the length and the width. So if I want to find the area, right, I would multiply the length times the width. 1 yard times 1 yard is 1 square yard. I can convert yard to feet. So from our conversions earlier, 1 yard is 3 feet. So I can find that same footage in feet. So 3 times 3 is 9, so that's 9 square feet. So 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. Now it's kind of hard to draw these last two out because acres is understood to be a square unit of measurement. Okay, but I could actually map out 43,560 square foot. All right, so we're going to use these conversions and along with unit fractions to convert. And I believe this is similar to number 1.2. I think this might be similar to number 5. It says make the following conversions: 70 square yards to square feet. So I'm going to use the unit fraction. So 70 square yards. So if we go back to our conversions, 1 square yard is equal to 9 square feet. So I'm going to put square yards in the denominator, square feet in the numerator. So 1 square yard is 9 square feet. Once we multiply, our unit of yard square going to cancel. 70 times 9, I believe that should be 630. So we should have 630 square feet. All right. So one thing about the unit fraction is just using the right conversion. All right, now here's a landscaping example. This was number 8. There was a question about this one. And you have to be careful on a lot of these problems because sometimes they will give you different units of measurement. And then what you have to do is you have to convert everything to the same unit, and then you can do whatever you want to do with it. So look at this problem. This is a landscaping example. It says a landscaper is putting in a brick patio. The area of the patio is 60 square meters. So it won't let me highlight that, but notice they give me the area of the patio in square meters. If the brick measures 15 centimeters by 20 centimeters, how many bricks will it take to make the patio? And it says assume there are no space between the bricks. Okay. So first thing is we have 2 different units of measurement. We have square meters and then we have centimeters. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the area of 1 brick. Right? So it says the brick measures 15 centimeters by 20 centimeters. So I'm going to multiply those 2 together. So 15 times 20 is going to give us 300. Centimeters times centimeter is what? Square centimeters. Is everybody okay with the first part? I'm finding the area for 1 brick. The second thing I need to do is convert 300 square centimeters to square meters. Right. And the reason I'm doing that is because they give me the area of the patio in square meters, so I have to convert everything to the same unit. So I'm just going to write out the conversion from square meters to square centimeters. So let's just say I have a figure that has 1 meter on each side. If I wanted to find the area, 1 meter times 1 meter is 1 square meter. One meter is how many centimeters? Well, if I go back up here, and if I had 1 meter, right, 1 meter would be in the center, right? If I want to convert meter to centimeter, I move the decimal 1, 2 places to the right. So that means that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So if I go back to my drawing, right, 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So if I were to find the area in centimeters, I'm now going to get what? Well, 100 times 100. Well, 1 times 1 is 1. I'm going to attach back those 4 zeros. So this is an actual fact. 1 square meter is equal to 10,000 square centimeters. So I'm going to use this fact to convert 300 square centimeters to meters. So now we just figured that 10,000 square centimeters is equal to 1 square meter. And now if I multiply, my centimeters are going to cancel. And now if I divide 310,000, I get 0.03 meters squared. All right, so now just to review, we found the area of 1 brick, which was 300 square centimeters. The second thing we did is convert 300 square centimeters to 300 square meters. All right, so we had to we developed this over here. Okay, but this is a cheat. This is what I actually did at home. I went to Google and I put in square centimeters. It's still in the search history. And so I put in 300 and it kind of like did it for me. All right. So 300 centimeters is 0.03 square meters. All right, so here I just kind of did it out the long way, or you can put it into Google search. And now the third thing I'm going to do is I have to divide. So if the total patio is 60 square meters, and if 1 brick is 3/100 of a square meter, what would I have to do to determine how many bricks? That's right. So I'm going to divide 60 by 0.03, and I should get, I think it's 2,000. 60 divided by 0.03. 60 divided by 0.03, and it should be 2,000. All right, so we'll take a total of 2,000 bricks. So we found the brick, the measurement of 1 brick. Then we had to convert from centimeters to square meters, and be mindful of that because there are a couple of problems in the homework that do this. Right. So we convert it to the correct unit and then we divide it. All right, and that should be similar to your number 8. Okay. All right, now also in section 1.2, what I did here was I had taken the formula sheet, just to show where I'm pulling this from. In the XYZ homework, in that very first module, the very first section of module 1, there were a couple of handouts. Okay, there's a standard formula sheet and a conversion formula sheet. Okay, I basically just took this first part. Okay, now all of this stuff, you will need these formulas, all right? But I just kind of isolated this first part for just the second part of the homework in module 2. And there's also another formula sheet, which is here. Okay. So I would definitely print these 2 formula sheets out because they have a lot of conversions, and I didn't even look for the square centimeter to square meter on here. Is it on here? Yeah, I don't see that one on here, but there's some conversions that may come in handy. Now, as far as weight is well, not weight, but let me just get back to where I was. All right, liquid measures are concerned. 8 ounces is a cup, 2 cups is a pint, 16 ounces is a pint, 4 cups is a quart. To be honest, I don't even know what a gill is. I've never heard of that before in my life. But 1 gill, whatever that is half a cup or a fourth of a pint. 2 pints is 1 quart. 4 quarts is 1 gallon. And then 31.5 gallons is a barrel. So I just kind of took that snippet just to answer these questions. So here again, we are using unit fractions to make conversions. So number 5 says make the following conversion: 5 pints to fluid ounces. Okay. So notice I'm using the liquid measure, right? Because you do have a weight ounce and then you have a fluid ounce. So since this is specifically fluid ounces, I'm looking at a liquid measure. All right, so 5 pints to fluid ounces. All right, so I'm simply going to make a unit fraction. I'm going to put pints in the denominator, and I'm going to put ounces in the numerator. I'm going to write out my conversion, which is here. 1 pint is 16 ounces. So 1 pint is 16 ounces. When I multiply, my unit of pints is going to cancel. I'm now left with ounces. So if I multiply 5 times 16, that should be 80 ounces. So pretty much the same thing we were doing. The only difference is the conversions. The next one says make the following conversion: 17 gallons to quarts. So we have 17 gallons. And if I look back at my conversions, there is a conversion from gallons to quarts. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. So for my unit fraction, I'm going to put gallon in the denominator, quarts in the numerator. Right, 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Once I cross multiply, the gallons are going to cancel. Just the gallons, not the 17. The gallons are going to cancel. I multiply 17 times 4, and we get 68 quarts.